This is a 1996 12-valve Cummins, and I put a new Fleet Runner serpentine belt on this thing. Put a new belt tensioner on it. Put a new water pump on it right there, as you can see. I went ahead and replaced all the hoses. Every single hose, this hose, this hose, this hose. This hose, this is a really strong hose. I really like this hose. And down there, that little elbow down there, replaced pretty much every hose here, except one that hides behind the turbo that the camera can't even pick it up. There it goes, right there. That tiny little piece of hose I didn't replace. But all the other hoses got replaced, and it's just because it's buried up under the turbo there. I don't want to mess with it. I rewrapped all of the harness, all the electrical harness, so it's all protected and wrapped now. So we did that. We put it all together. We put fresh coolant in this thing. You can see green coolant matching the belt. That's what's supposed to go in these, the green coolant. And we put it all together. We fired it up, and it seemed to be leaking from like under here, dripping on this, and as the fan blows, it was splattering it. It was starting to splatter it everywhere, so I shut it off. And I re-cleaned this surface one more time just to be thoroughly clean. Not that I didn't clean it before, but I said, let me just clean it again, right? Good thing is I didn't have to take my fan shroud out and my fan clutch, and I didn't even have to take my belt off all the way. If you're gonna do this thermostat, you can see I pulled the belt off just right there, only left the wrench on there. That's a 1/2-inch wrench on the new tensioner, just to slide this back. And the reason why I took the belt off was to be able to access this bolt easier and be able to loosen this so that the alternator would drop back. I did disconnect the harness cables just because one of the grounds goes right here, and it has a wire coming across there, kind of in the way. So you don't have to disconnect the wires. You can work around it, but I did just because I don't like any obstruction in my way when I'm working, and it wasn't that hard to disconnect. So put the thermostat on. It takes 3 bolts, 1 bottom, 2 top. I kind of wish they would have put a 4th bolt somewhere over here. I don't know why Dodge did it. It would help this seal better if they would have did. I mean, I don't see why they couldn't put a bolt over here and finish the same height on this casting instead of having that drop down there. They could have squared this off more and did a 4 bolt situation to keep things tighter on the bottom, more sealed. You get a little bit of pitting in the metal as the engine ages, and the tighter you can bolt it, the better. And these are 10mm bolts. They're not that strong to begin with. But anyways, 12-valve Cummins thermostat. That's pretty much what you're looking at to remove it. And then turn the music down. Oh, and then over here, this is the old gasket setup here. It's a 2 gasket deal. So pretty much, here's your old thermostat. This one's gonna go right in front of the thermostat, and then this one's gonna go in the back of it, like so. So it's a 2 gasket deal like that on these thermostats. And here's all the swelled up hoses I replaced. and they weren't looking too good. This one ripped. So yeah, there's your old beat up tensioner, your old beat up water pump. This is the belt I use. It's Fleet Runner by Gates. And there's your part number. KO80810HD. So now that we got that out of the way, let's move on to talking about what happened here. I originally got this at AutoZone. This is the Felpro. You might be able to see the Felpro name somewhere on it. Felpro, and there's your number, 35639 Felpro. And this one just, I don't know, I'm not trying to rag on Felpro, but it didn't look too good to me. And then here's the setup, and like I said, I was leaking from the bottom here where that one bottom bolt is. This is your hanger to hoist the engine and lift the engine out. If you were gonna hook up chains to hoist the engine out, that's where you would put them. So this kind of bolts to the side of the engine block there, and you have your two bolts here and the one on the top, and then this holds that little alternator bracket that slides over. You have a little bypass hose that runs over it. So this sits into that, as you can see, that way. And then this, which is pretty much the same as the Felpro. This is the Victor Rhines brand. And there's your part number, 7113568-00. Different color, different material. It just feels a little better than the Felpro does. The original thermostat doesn't come with any weep hole. See, there's no weep hole in it anywhere. And I drilled these two weep holes because I live in Florida, Sunshine State, and I've made other videos explaining why I do that. Also, it does have a little bit of a give right here in the casting, and I put those two weep holes lined up with that give right there, see? So even when the thermostat's closed, something will always bleed through those little 1/8 inch holes. Those are 1/8 inch drill bits. And I just did two holes to allow it to have a little bit of a bleed. And then this is the other gasket that goes in there. You can see I cleaned this all real good, and this is just a little spacer type gasket that sits there, so you put that there. Now you could glue the crap out of all this, but I'm not going to this time. I'm gonna put it in like this and hope for the best. This, you would think you can put it with the small side in first. And what you see is too loose that way. It only goes in with the thicker side in. And so that is the Victor Hines one. And that is how she fits. And this is, sorry, got caught up and pulled it out. And this is the Felpro brand one. The Felpro one, I feel like it sticks out a little more. And it just feels a little more like made in China-y type of material. This Victor Hines just feels a little better to me. To each their own, right? So that's how this is gonna sit. I guess as you tighten it down, it squeezes it in better. And then this, you can't get it wrong, because if you do, it won't line up. Say you were to put it backwards, that bottom bolt would not line up. You see that? In a perfect world, it would have 4 bolts like that, but it's not going to line up in this position. It's only going to line up in this position. And then this bolts to the engine block with the 3 bolts. And I cleaned the threads on all 3 of them. The 2 long ones go up top, and then the short one, excuse me for yawning on you, the short one goes on bottom. LE98, it looks like. Could be a 96. But yeah, there's your 3 bolts. And this is just, like I said, gonna sit like so and tighten down. And then there's gonna be your engine hook. And that's gonna go on the side of the engine block. So hard to one-hand things, but you get the idea. I need to hire me a little. I wish I had a little grandson or something out here to hold the dang camera for me. They sell these tripods online, and I'm seriously like looking at them, considering getting one. And so this is gonna go like so. And then what I want you to see is that little bit of a gap right there. You see how this inner hole is smaller than the hole on the bracket? What's supposed to compensate for that, if I can get it to stay, let me get a couple bolts. Of course, I managed to get it stuck as it rolled over on its side, right? And I can't get it out unless I unthread it all the way out. Now it wants to do the same damn thing. And this is all for trying to one-hand the damn situation. I am going to set this phone down for a quick second. Okay. So that's what I wanted to show right there. And as you can see, the bracket will sit up against, let's see if I can record this a little better for you. The bracket has a bigger hole than the hole of the side of the cylinder head. And this gets pushed in there like so. So as you tighten it, it should seal, is what's going on there. And then that'll sit right there. A little baby bolt on the bottom, 2 longer bolts up top. And then this, like I said, the thicker end fits in here. Smaller end fits in here to compensate for that little gap there, because this is bigger. Now on some of the other 12 valves, the thermostat will be facing up, and this O-ring is all the same thickness all the way through. It doesn't have the thicker and the thinner like this, and that's because that one just sits in flush. The ones that come in from the top side, those thermostats on those 12 valves, I forget what year they are, but these that come in on the side like this, you gotta compensate for this right here. Now there's 2 guys. There's the guy that's gonna RTV all this up real good, and if you're that guy, you're probably gonna wanna RTV the bracket to the back and RTV the front of the bracket. RTV, don't drop, don't fall. Okay. RTV this, RTV this, RTV this in here, a little bit around here to catch in there, and you're just gonna RTV everything, right? RTV Permatex gasket maker is what you're gonna want to use. High temp, max temp, the red one. If you were gonna be that guy, you were gonna do that. By the way, our thermostat part number I forgot to show. It's a Murray, and it's a 4248. So there's your and your water pump part number was also a Murray, and it was a CP7145RF. And then your Murray serpentine belt tensioner was a 233501P. So there is your part numbers for those components. I already showed the part number for the belt. I'm due for a sip of watermelon juice. Victor Hines part number I already showed. The whole modifier there. You have your two gaskets set up. One in the front, one in the back. In this position, not that position, this position, because of what I just explained over there. And address those hoses. And I just bought a hose that had this L shape and would cover the length, and it was actually longer, and I just cut it to make it work, because the same with this one, I have the same 90 bend, and it was longer, and I just cut it to work. And these hoses I just got off of the rail where you buy them by the foot, the hose, and about a foot, and it's actually a little less than a foot. But yeah, if you wanna gasket maker it up, then gasket maker it up. Go for it. Some guys do, some guys don't. I don't have anything to say about either because it just depends. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's just the way the energy, the vibe is felt. Sometimes I'm just like, you know what, I'm not gonna gasket make this. I'm just gonna tighten her down and fingers crossed, hope for the best. This is not the hardest alternator to swing off to the side and thermostat housing to get out. It is a little easier when they point straight up. This one does require a little bit more work, but it's doable. And if I put it together and it leaks again and I gotta take it apart, I don't wanna have to clean all that glue. But if I do put this together and it leaks again, I'm probably gonna glue the snot out of it, just to be honest with y'all. But I'm not going to right now, and that's all there is to it. On the water pump, I did put a little bit of the gasket maker glue, very thin, because the water pump gasket looks very like it's hard for me to trust that alone is gonna seal. And man, who doesn't like the green on that Fleet Runner belt by Gates? I love it. And then I cleaned my fan blades and cleaned my fan shroud, cleaned my coolant tank, cleaned a lot of stuff here while I was in here. But yeah, the next step is to simply bolt this back together. And I'm not gonna do that one-handed because I don't have a camera assistant person. But once the thermostat is bolted in, 1, 2, 3 bolts in the position that I showed you, I'm gonna tighten it down good and then edge the alternator back up, tighten the bottom bolt there, put the bolt here, and put the belt back on, and then connect the harness that I disconnected and fill it with some more fluid, some drained out of course, and start it up and hope that it doesn't leak. That's all I gotta say. But I don't have any leaks from anywhere else when it ran. That's the good news. This was the only leak. But for those of you that wanted to see and understand how this 2-gasket thermostat system works, there's guys that have made videos. Look, I asked ChatGPT, I asked Grok to make me a video explaining the positioning of these gaskets and how they install. And freaking Grok couldn't find me a good link. Neither could ChatGPT. There is no good video on the internet. There's a couple poorly made videos that aren't that well detailed and don't really explain this well. And if you don't know what you're doing, you could easily be staring at this trying to figure it out. And the only thing I didn't do is look up the torque spec on these bolts. So all I gotta say is keep in mind they're 10mm bolts. If they break into the cylinder head, that's gonna not be fun to drill out and rethread. So keep that in mind as you're tightening. Don't overdo it, Hercules. I'm using a small 1/4-inch ratchet, not a 3/8 or definitely not a 1/2 inch, but I'm using small ratchets that I'm not applying that much force to. So I'm running it in with this soft and easy first. And then for the top ones, I'm using the 10mm here and just giving it a good feel of a tug. And then on the bottom one, I'm using the 10 on the 1/4 inch. What is this? Yeah, this is my Matco 1/4 inch ratchet there. And that's it. And I'm using the same thing for the 10mm that goes across here, and the rest is just connect those clips. And then your tensioner, I could show you on the old one. That has a hole right there made for the ratchet to go into. And you put the ratchet in there without a socket and pry and it'll bend off. The water pump was 2 13mm bolts, nice and easy. The rest was just hose clamps. And removing the fan shroud was probably the hardest thing. You're gonna need a fan clutch tool to remove that. And I had to remove that to do the water pump to give myself room, I had to remove the fan clutch, and you got to get that fan clutch bolt out with a fan clutch wrench tool. So yeah, that's pretty much all it is. It's not rocket science, but you want to clean everything before you put it back too. And now hopefully after watching this video, you get an idea of what you might want to do while you're in here. The belt, you're gonna remove it, so you might as well get a good one. It's a great time if you're doing the water pump anyways to go ahead and put a new belt on it. And a tensioner, just because you got a new belt, is probably an old tire tensioner, but you don't have to replace that if you don't think you need to or can't afford to. And all these hoses, is just smart to replace them, especially here in the Sunshine State. You don't want to be going down the road pulling a trailer and have a pinhole leak from a hose, especially not from like your hoses down here, these hoses, all that. You want to make sure that you got good hoses all the way around up top. So yeah, just a couple hoses, a thermostat, a water pump, a serpentine belt, and a serpentine belt tensioner. Clean, 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 and put it back. So I'm gonna let y'all go. For those that were wondering how your thermostat goes and why I drill the bolt holes in it, if you live up north, don't do that. If you live in a warmer climate, it's a good idea, trust me. You take a drill bit, put it on a like on a vise like this, clamp it down, and take your 1/4 inch drill, and you could either do 1 hole or 2 holes depending on how hot it is. Florida is steaming hot, so I'm doing 2 holes on mine, and I tow heavy. But you don't want to just cut it wide open. You want the thermostat to close and allow pressure to build, allow the coolant to stay in the radiator long enough for the radiator to cool it. Another thing I did is add this electric fan here, and I added a toggle switch inside, and this one pushes air in. I'm ordering a second 16 inch, and I'm gonna move this cooler a little out of the way and put that other 16 inch here and have 2 16-inch fans blowing nice cold air through my intercooler in through to the radiator, plus the fan clutch. Like I said, this is the Sunshine State, and this is an older truck, and I don't want to overheat it, so I want to do everything I can to keep it running cool. And new hoses, upper and lower, both radiator hoses got replaced, brand new. I'll soon have that second fan here, and I shouldn't have any more overheating issues after this. But for those of you that are like, how do I do my thermostat on my 12 valve, and you're new to the 12 valve world, I hope that this video helped you understand the whole dual gasket and the importance of drilling those holes. And I'm gonna end the video there. There's your little thermostat hole. Last time you'll be seeing it open. Anyways, thank you for watching. Y'all have a good one. If you have any other questions, you know what to do in the comments. Have a blessed day.